Hi everyone. So we're going to do our last part of acids and bases because I forgot to make it earlier this week and I apologize. And if you hear me sniffing and things like that, just know that in the age of the coronavirus, it is also the age of Miss Nichols' allergies because she's allergic to like every tree in Georgia, which is unfortunate during this time of the year. So in this video, we will be talking about naming acids and bases. And by naming acids and bases, what I really mean is mostly just naming acids. Bases are named the same way, so like that they always have been. So NaOH has 3 capital letters, which means there's something on your polyatomic ion sheet. And so we know that this is actually a sodium ion and a hydroxide ion. And so we would just name it sodium hydroxide. That's pretty just standard. The one base that you might want to remember is that NH3 is ammonia, and NH4 plus, which is actually an acid, its name is ammonium. So it's very similar, but this one is on your polyatomic ion sheet, which is getting posted to e-class if you haven't already seen it. So when we're looking at naming acids, though, there are 2 types of acids. There's binary acids and tertiary or ternary acids. Binary acids are ones with 2 elements in them. Not when you count them like they're subscripts, but just like 2 types of elements. So for example, HCl, HBr, HI, H2S, they both have 2 elements, hydrogen and 1 other element. So when you name them, what you do is you add the prefix hydro and you change it to end with ic acid. So for example, HCl, you put hydro, and then Cl is chlorine, so we put chlor, and then instead of chlorine, we change it to chloric, and then we add the word acid after its name. And then HBr is the same way. We add hydro, and then instead of bromine, it becomes bromic acid. So what I would do is I would pause the video and see if you can name HI and H2S. So go ahead, pause the video. Alright, so HI is hydroiodic acid, and H2S is hydrosulfuric acid. If I could spell acid correctly, that would be great. Alright, so we have hydrosulfuric acid. Now, tertiary acids are a little different. Tertiary acids have 3 elements, typically, so hydrogen plus a polyatomic ion. So there is a polyatomic ion in there somewhere. And remember, a tertiary acid is not going to start with hydro at all. You won't see any reference to the hydrogen, actually. But when you look at the polyatomic name, that's kind of how you know how it's named. So for example, if it ends in ATE, then it will change to IC. But if it ends in ITE, it will change to OUS. So for example, if we look at H2SO4 and you look on your polyatomic ion sheet, the SO4 ion is sulfate, whereas SO3 ion is sulfite. So you'll have to make sure you're paying close attention because the only difference between these two is a 4 and a 3, and the only difference between their ion names is an A and an I. So be really careful that you're looking at the right one. So because sulfate ends in ATE, we'll change it to sulfic acid. Oh, hold on. Actually, that's wrong. Sorry about that. We'll change it to sulfuric acid. Sulfur is like one of the weird ones where you keep the UR. So sulfite becomes sulfurous acid. H3PO4 is phosphate, whereas H3PO3 is phosphite. And so this would become phosphoric acid, and phosphite becomes phosphorus acid. HNO3 is nitrate, so it becomes nitric acid. And don't worry if you're wondering, like, if I just ask you and it's not multiple choice. Spelling, as long as you have the right ending on the end, is fine. With me, I'm not going to take off if you swap an I and an U or something like that. So that's kind of how you name acids, the basics. And yeah, enjoy.